In 2022, we celebrate 130 years of HBCU football. On December 27th, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donal Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the 2022 season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag HBCU130. Now, here's your host, Donal Ware.
This is the HBCU Football Daily Podcast for today, Thursday, September 29th. I'm Donal Ware. We're going to transition into week 5 of the HBCU football season. We're going to take a look at the week 5 matchups. And we have had some games that have been rescheduled from Saturday to Thursday in advance of Hurricane Ian. And first and foremost, we're just praying for your safety wherever you may be. If you're in the path of Ian, just praying for you. Here in the Carolinas, it's supposed to hit on tomorrow and Saturday. So please be safe. Tonight's games, Fayetteville State going to host Shawan. Fayetteville State is looking to bounce back after its loss last Saturday to Virginia Union. And really, when you look at Shawan and Fayetteville State, still both teams have hopes of an appearance in the CIAA championship game in front of them. Johnson C. Smith is hosting Elizabeth City State, also moved from Saturday. South Carolina State will play in Columbia to take on South Carolina. And again, you know, this is an opportunity. BJ Davis, I talked with you about him on yesterday, the linebacker for South Carolina State. He's absolutely an incredible ball player, and it's an opportunity really for him to make a name for himself going up. Again, you go to look at Shaquille Leonard. He made his name 18 tackles in his junior year against Clemson. You look at Jacoby Durant last football season, had 2 interceptions against Clemson and made his name as well. Saturday games, Tennessee State hosts Lane. So Lane had won a couple of games in a row. Meanwhile, Tennessee State coming off a bye, looking for its first victory of the season. Bluefield State hosts Apprentice. Norfolk State is going to be on the road taking on Sacred Heart. Virginia State and Shaw meet. It's in Petersburg, Virginia. I think this is an important game for really both teams. I mean, again, it's an intra-divisional game. However, this is I think, you know, you look at Dr. Henry Frazier in his first season as the head coach at Virginia State. Virginia State's won 3 straight ball games. I forget where Virginia State is in the HBCU Division II coaches poll. Shaw's ranked in that poll as well. Shaw's won 2 straight games. So this is an important game for both teams. Virginia Union is hosting St. Aug's. Winston-Salem State is hosting Lincoln of Pennsylvania. Okay. 2-2 on the season is Lincoln, while Winston-Salem State still looking for its first victory. Here's an intriguing matchup. North Carolina Central on the road at Campbell. Campbell's got a good program. Mike Minter, former Carolina Panther, is the head coach there. He's got a good offense there. And this should be an interesting game because you're looking at, and again, these two teams are separated maybe by about 60 miles or so. You look at North Carolina Central, undefeated on the season, was ranked in the top 25, beat Virginia University of Lynchburg. I guess some saw that as not a great win and dropped North Carolina Central out, which I think doesn't really make a lot of sense because you brought them in the week after they beat New Hampshire. You can only play the schedule that's ahead of you. I think that's either Central's a top 25 team or it's not. And I look at that voting, I'm like, nah, the voters didn't get that right. at all. Morgan State hosting Virginia University of Lynchburg. Howard going to be on the road taking on Yale. Alabama A&M and Bethune-Cookman get together. Bethune-Cookman coming off the nice win last week. Meanwhile, Alabama A&M looking for its first victory. Langston looking to remain undefeated. Hosts Lyon. Lincoln of Missouri looking for its first victory of the season is taking on Central Oklahoma in what should be a pretty interesting matchup. I think Albany State hosts Miles. Now, we've seen this matchup in the regular season going back a couple of years ago where Miles, where Albany State won. As a matter of fact, I think Albany State's won the last three meetings between the two. If you go back to the 2018 and 2019 seasons, Albany State won those games, but then Miles won in the SIAC championship game. We'll see if this year is different. Bowie State hosts Livingstone. Edward Waters hosts Morehouse. Fort Valley State and Benedict. I'm looking at this one as the HBCU National Game of the Week. We'll see tomorrow if this is the game we preview. That game is going to be in Fort Valley, Georgia. That is going to be a good ball game. Clark Atlanta is hosting Tuskegee. Florida Memorial is hosting Kaiser. The State Fair Classic, if you've listened to Box to Row for any length of time, you know that the State Fair Classic is taking place this Saturday in Dallas. Grambling and Prairie View A&M getting together, and Ashanti is performing. Ashanti is one of my favorites. She's performing at that game prior to the game. Plus, you have the Texas State Fair, which is really big, and your ticket gets you into both of those games. Southern is hosting Arkansas Pine Bluff in a Southwestern Athletic Conference Western Division matchup. Texas Southern hosting Alabama State. West Virginia State on the road looking to bounce back is taking on Alderson Broadus. Allen hosting Central State. Allen's been playing some pretty good football this year. Delaware State hosts Robert Morris. Florida A&M hosts Mississippi Valley State. Savannah State hosts Kentucky State. And North Carolina A&T opens Big South play at home against Bryant. So that's a look at today's HBCU Football Daily Podcast. On tomorrow, we will look at the HBCU National Game of the Week. Don't forget to tell a couple of friends about the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, where you can find us on our website, boxtorow.com. You can also find us on iHeartMedia or wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on the Box to Row YouTube page. Talk with you tomorrow.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at boxtorow.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on Box to Row with Donal Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on SiriusXM on HBCU Channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on SiriusXM Channel 84. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Box to Row for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.